Have you heard about Global Poker? Global Poker is the fastest growing card room in the US today, and it's available online at globalpoker.com. Global Poker is a social poker site that offers safe and secure cash-out options by using their unique and patented sweepstakes model. Players can compete in big guaranteed tournaments, jackpot sit-and-goes, or cash games featuring Hold'em, Omaha, and even Crazy Pineapple. Don't wait. Check out Global Poker today.
Poker Stories is an audio series that features casual interviews with some of the game's best players and personalities. Each episode highlights a well-known figure in the poker world and dives deep into their favorite tales both on and off the feld.
Hello and welcome back to Poker Stories, a podcast brought to you by Card Player, the Poker Authority, and hosted by me, Julio Rodriguez. This is episode number 73 and features Las Vegas-based poker pro Randy Ohel. Now, Randy is primarily a mixed games cash player who spends most of his year grinding at Bellagio. However, he does dedicate his summers to the WSOP, where he has done quite well over the last 7 years. In 2012, he won a bracelet, taking down the $2,500 buy-in triple draw event for $145,000, and he also finished 5th in the 3K PLO 8 or better event. In 2014, he finished runner-up in the $10,000 H.O.R.S.E championship for $314K. 2 years later, he again finished runner-up, this time in the $10,000 stud 8 or better, as well as 3rd in the 3K PLO 6 max. In 2018, he had another stellar summer at the tables, cashing in the 50K Poker Players Championship, as well as taking 5th in the 10K H.O.R.S.E and 2nd in the 10K Triple Draw. When you throw in the occasional no-limit hold'em score, Randy has cashed for more than $2.1 million in live tournaments, while basically limiting himself to just 2 months a year. Now, full disclosure to my listeners, Randy and I are good friends. We hang out relatively often, at least for two grown men with kids. And that made recording this podcast only about 5% weirder. Randy grew up in South Florida, as did I, and we are about the same age. We both went to the same college and played in the same poker home games, but we never actually met until after his bracelet win when we were both living in Las Vegas. Now, normally I go to the interview subject, or they come to the Card Player offices, or maybe we meet up in a poker room somewhere, but this time Randy was nice enough to come to me. Anyway, that's enough intro. Here's my conversation with Randy Ohel. I am here with a Poker Stories first. I'm in my own house, and I'm recording a podcast with Randy Ohel. How are you doing, Randy?
Randy what?
Ohel? Ohel?
You just sort of stumbled over my name quite a lot there.
Randy Ohel. Oh hell, he's in my house. Randy, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you, Julio?
I'm good. This isn't the first time you've been in my house.
Not even close.
Yeah, it's
Our families are quite close.
Yes, this is quite awkward. I'm interviewing a friend, although I've had friends on this podcast before, but
yeah, I know.
Maybe not ones I know so well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to feign ignorance and try to go all over it again.
It's a good idea.
As we recap your life, and maybe I'll learn something new.
And maybe I'll pretend like I don't know some of the questions that are coming from having listened to your podcast before.
Oh, yes, that's a good question. So, which episodes have you listened to?
I've listened to a lot of them.
Do you have a particular favorite?
The Steve Z one was great.
Steve Zolotow's got some stories.
That was a really
Guys,
good episode.
do not sleep on Steve Zolotow.
That was probably the best one.
That guy has lived a life. So make sure you check that out. Is there a particular question you're looking forward to?
No.
No? Okay, because I have new questions.
Oh, you do? Oh, that's exciting.
I have a couple ones I've thrown away, a couple ones I've added from listener suggestions, so who knows? Maybe you didn't prepare as well as you thought.
I didn't prepare very well, period.
I'm
a poker player. I don't prepare for things. I just do things.
Well, there you go. That's spoken like a true poker player. Let's go back to the beginning. 1985? 86? 85. Coral Springs, Florida.
Yep.
What was going on back in the day?
I have no idea. I don't remember.
Well, tell me about
in 1985.
Tell me about your upbringing.
I was just raised into kind of a reasonably typical upper middle class Jewish household in South Florida, of which there were many.
There are many.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Religious?
No. Just Jewish by culture. Mm-hmm. Not really religion in my household.
You never had any rituals?
Well, we did like I was bar mitzvahed when I was 13, and we did. My mom believes in things.
I've met your mother.
Yes, you have.
I was witness to a conversation.
Yes. Were you? Yeah, she believes in things.
Yeah.
No, definitely not a religious household. But we did occasionally. We would do like the Seder for Passover, and we would do. Some members of my household would fast for Yom Kippur, or they would make me attend services for a few of the different things.
Were you not?
But definitely not a religious household.
Age?
No, I've never believed in anything.
Yeah. What about you have a sister?
Yes, I have a sister 2.5 years younger than me.
Mm-hmm. And you were the typical older brother, or did you guys get along?
For the most part, we did. Like, every
there were times.
Yeah, every sibling relationship has its ups and its downs and whatever. But I would say that for the most part, we got along.
Mm. And what were you getting into? I remember in another interview you said that you were an indoor kid.
Yeah, I was mostly an indoor kid.
What does that mean?
Like, played video games and things like that. Although I did there was a stretch where we played hockey on the street quite a bit. And a little bit of kickball on the street. We did a little bit of that for a couple of years of my life, but for the most part of it, I would say I was an indoor kid.
Stuck inside.
Not stuck inside, happily inside.
Zelda.
Happily inside.
Or what were your games back in the day?
Listen, we invented shelter for a reason, okay? It's fucking brutal out there.
Yeah,
it's brutal in Florida.
The audacity that we've chosen to live in the desert of all places.
Well, I mean, I always say that I grew up in the sauna and I moved to the oven.
Yeah.
And I think that's and the reason I always say it is because I think it's true. This
is funny because we're both from the same area. We went to high school very close
near each
to each other. We ended up going to the same college.
I think we overlapped by, was it 2 or 3 years at UF?
2 years.
2 years we overlapped at UF, and we never met each other until we lived in Vegas.
And it wasn't until Vegas that we got to know each other. But yeah, I felt the same way coming from Florida to Vegas. The first time I stepped out of McCarran Airport, I got a nosebleed. Just because I had never experienced anything so dry before.
I can buy that for sure. I remember when I moved to Vegas, I had this feeling when I stepped onto the jetway when I moved here in 2008 that right away I just felt home.
Mm-hmm. This city just clicked for you.
Yeah, but I wasn't even here yet. I was literally on the jetway. I'm like, I'm home. I just was ready to move. I always knew that I wouldn't end up in South Florida. I never liked it, and I always wanted to explore somewhere else, but I never thought it would be here. I never thought it would be, here as a gambler.
Well, it's funny because both Vegas and South Florida are both retirement area, hotspots anyway.
Well, especially South Florida.
Yeah.
Vegas is just a super transplant place.
I feel like there's
a lot of people move here. There's some, but a lot of people retire to Arizona, and people move here when they're more in the middle of their lives, I think.
I see a lot of old people.
There's a good number of old people.
Maybe it's all the golf I've been playing. All right, so we're in Coral Springs. You're playing video games, and your grandma teaches you poker?
That's an exaggeration.
Why?
Because no. It's just it's sort of a half joke story that we tell in my family. Mm-hmm. I already knew what beats what at 5-card draw and stuff like that, and just flush beats a straight and all of that sort of thing, but she taught me the rules of 7-card stud specifically. Okay. That's what that was, and that was on a day off from a sick day from school or whatever, where she watched me for the day.
And did you take to it real fast? Or?
No.
Okay.
I there was no between the age this was when I was I don't know, 8 or something like that, and maybe 7, I don't know, something like that. But there was no poker wasn't really in my life until I was 17 or 18. But definitely what was in my life, my whole life, was games. We played a lot of games in my household. I played a lot of games with friends, card games, board games, the whole lot of them. And that was a big part of my life, my whole life, and still is. I don't just play poker. I play a lot of board games and other games.
What were your favorites growing up?
We played a lot of Monopoly, played a lot of Spades and Hearts, played
Were you a good
I like to play.
competitor?
We played a lot of card games with my grandmother. We played a lot of. She played a lot of casino with her. Some games like that.
I remember countless games with my sister where she would see that she's losing and then just quit and flip the board over.
No, we were not like that in my house.
Yeah, so
We played.
You were like a competitive bunch.
Oh yeah, I would say so. And there was definitely, maybe my parents could correct the record, but I'm fairly sure, talking to them, that there was never any kind of like letting the kids win or anything like that in my household. Actually, I think that I'm told that there was a little bit of fighting between my parents about that when we were young. That my mom wanted to let us win sometimes, and my dad didn't.
No soft play.
I'm told that there was some. I think I'm told that there was a little bit of fighting there, but I don't think it ever happened. And I don't ever plan on letting my kids win. I don't believe in that.
We'll get to your fatherhood later on in the podcast.
No, there's not much to get into with him.
Okay, so poker enters your life how?
I don't remember.
As a teenager.
I must have been 17.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's, I guess, a senior or maybe junior or maybe senior in high school. I don't remember exactly how it first entered my life. I definitely watched the Moneymaker World Series of Poker.
Mm-hmm.
And I was somewhat exposed to it before that, but I don't remember exactly from where. But I enjoyed the Moneymaker thing, and I was interested in that. And then we had, in my high school, we had what we called the USPO, University School Poker
Open?
T. No, USPT. Sorry, I said
Okay.
USPO is the actual thing.
That's a real event.
USPT, University School Poker Tour, like WPT. And we would travel to the different people's houses and have like, tournaments that were between maybe 20 to 30 people every week or every other week.
Man.
Yeah, and like I think $20 buy-ins.
So this is the height of poker boom, poker mania.
No, this is not the height. This is 2003.
Yeah.
This is the beginning of the poker boom. The height of the poker boom was like 2007.
Yeah. Okay.
But
and that's a lot of.
This is the very beginning of it.
That's a lot of teenagers gambling.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But we had a really good time with it.
Here?
Yeah, I said we $20 tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very, very rare cash games. Mostly just the $20 tournaments. Like we played. I think we had a 4-handed running sit and go in my physics class. The last because the teacher would finish with between 5 and 10 minutes left every day. Would finish his lesson, and we would deal a few hands and keep it on paper. And we had a running sit and go. My whole senior year basically of high school. I actually also attended the what they called it, the Coral Springs Poker Tour, CSPT. So I attended 2 different high school tournament things. Ours ran much more regularly than theirs and was much, much tougher.
Mm-hmm.
We had a pretty tough game in my high school. We have from my high school we have 3 professional poker players and 3 bracelets.
Can you rattle off those names?
Yeah, Stephen Wolanski.
Steve Wolanski. Okay.
Yeah, has 2 bracelets and was in my high school. And the other the other professional doesn't have any bracelets, but lives in L.A. and is a limit hold'em player named Michael Winnett, who many people know as Squeaky.
Squeaky. Yeah. Limit guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we had much tougher games than they did at the other. It was surprising.
Yeah, I would imagine.
And then we had a year end. It was
high
actually
schools can't claim bracelets like that.
And we had by the way, my graduating class was about 150 kids. It's a very small high school, and they were
Yeah, your high school was about a minute from my actual house.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where was your house?
Orange Drive.
Oh.
Just off of University.
Oh, that is right by the U school. Wow. Jeez. We had a good time. We also took a little bit of money out of every prize pool for all of these and had a year-end event that was, I think, a $50 buy-in with this added money, which I think Squeaky won. I think.
How did you fare?
I did not cash in that. I made money overall in the USPT though. Mm-hmm. Our good friend Michael Gross did cash in the final event.
Yes, somewhat of a poker player in his own right. Shout out to Mike Gross. Okay, so you graduate high school. You get accepted into the greatest university in the land. Go Gators.
Which I barely attended.
You squandered the opportunity.
I did. I squandered not only an admission, but I squandered a more than full ride. I was being paid to go to college, and I discovered that in college they don't force you to attend classes unlike in high school, and that did not work out well for me.
Yeah.
I didn't go to the classes.
Did you at least have one good semester where you
No,
kept your nose clean?
I had 0 good semesters.
Wow. So what was the first
I was a
vice
disaster.
that caught you? Were you in the dorms freshman year?
I was in the dorms, yeah. I was in the honors dorm, Hume dorm.
Hume, okay. I was Beatty Towers.
Yeah. Oh, that's where my sister lived there.
Okay.
But anyway, what was I going to say?
How you failed at college.
Yeah, I just didn't go to the classes.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, the thing was that even in high school, I got good grades because I had this more than full ride scholarship, and I did well on standardized testing, and et cetera, et cetera. But I never had good study habits at all. I never studied anything. I would go to class, pay attention to the things that they said, remember them, and do well on tests.
Yeah.
So, like, grades that I screwed up might have been in homework or might have been, like, and I never had any study habits. So I certainly couldn't not attend a class and do well, which is what I discovered.
Yeah.
So the only couple classes that I attended with any regularity were the ones that really interest me, like film analysis class, for example. And I actually, like, wrote the paper for that class and did kind of well in that class.
I took that class, too.
Intro to film analysis?
Yeah, which movies did they make you watch?
I don't remember all of them. The best one that was, what was the Hitchcock? Vertigo.
Okay, I don't remember if we had a Hitchcock.
It probably depends on the TA that teaches it or whatever.
Yeah, I think
we had 2 Hitchcock movies.
We watched, like, the Battleship Potemkin and, like...
Oh, we watched that, yeah.
The Bicycle Thief.
We didn't watch The Bicycle Thief. We talked about it. But that was a good class.
Nashville. I think he had
never heard of that.
He had a Robert Altman thing. Wasn't a fan.
Vertigo's a great movie.
Yeah,
the other one we watched was...
The
other Hitchcock movie was Notorious, in one of his first movies.
So that was the one
but
class
I literally,
you gave a shit about.
But this is how bad I was, and this is not going to be an exaggeration. I give my word, this is not an exaggeration. I had to walk from that class back to the dorm, and I literally would walk, this is no exaggeration, within 15 feet of the door to my next class, which was like computers for business majors or whatever, that introductory class. Mm-hmm. And I literally would walk 15 feet from this door and would just never step foot in the class. I just walked straight past it every day. And like an intelligent person, I scheduled the class, so I'm like, oh, when I'm walking back, this will be right on my way.
Yeah.
And it's right after. It's perfect timing. I can go
back to back.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I was just awful and never attended it.
You didn't even have the I didn't get out of bed excuse.
I did a couple of my classes. I did have that excuse, but not this particular one.
So, what kind of poker were you getting into in college?
I played online,
Mm-hmm.
and I played some like live underground games in Gainesville. Which was
that the main reason why you were, not locked in college? Like, if
No,
you
the main
had never
reason-
discovered poker, would you have been fine in college?
I don't know. I've wondered that over the years. I think that at 18 I was not ready for college. That's the truth. I think that I never developed the habits I needed to have, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do for a living. The only thing I knew was that I was already kind of materialistic, and I wanted something where I could make some money. Mm-hmm. And poker ended up being like the most obvious thing. Like, I loved the idea of poker, that you like go home with the actual money that you make, and you don't wait for like a paycheck. I did work normal jobs in high school and in college, but there was something about poker that really. Like, I do remember, I had one experience where I knew I wasn't gonna. My original major was finance, and I took Intro to Financial Accounting, which I did not pass. And
I remember that being a weed out class, right?
It is, yeah. It's actually the first. This is gonna sound conceited, but it's true. It's the first ever time that I took a class period in my entire life where I felt like it was difficult.
Yeah.
I found accounting difficult, which was like. Scholastically never happened to me before, and I didn't put in the work that one would have to put in to actually get good at it, and I just flat out hated it.
Yeah.
But I knew I would never end up a finance major, so I went. I took the course. I literally took the little booklet with all of the majors and stuff like that, and I kind of leafed through it, and I was looking around and reading up, and I'm like, and none of this appealed to me. I really didn't want any of it, and I was just like, I guess I'll play poker.
That was a backup. You weren't like, okay, maybe let's find something else. You're like,
I tried for one semester. I changed to political science, I think, but I never even remotely came close to doing anything in that. Mm-hmm. But I just didn't want to do any of it. And people always say, ask me about choosing poker, and I always say that it didn't feel like a choice at the time. It just felt like what I needed to do. And, you know, now here we are, however many years later.
Did you have a sign of success that you thought might be a reason why you're being pushed in poker's direction? Like, did you have any reason to believe you would be successful?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, I had made money at the home games, and I'd made money online, and I had, like, had a couple big final tables on PokerStars events and stuff like that. So, yeah, I had reason to believe that I would succeed, although it turned out that I was nowhere near as good as I thought I was. And I went broke and got a job and learned to play better and went unbroke.
When did this going broke happen? In
2006, 7.
Okay, so...
Yeah, I had a job in 2000...
You weren't even 21.
7 or 8. No.
Yeah. You were broke before
no,
you
I was. I
play.
turned 20... What are you talking about? I turned 21 in 2006.
I turned 21.
Before that.
Yeah. My first summer was 06.
That makes sense.
Jamie Gold's year.
My first time in Vegas was also 2006, actually. I came here in December of 2006, right after Damon Singer turned 18, who you know.
Well, for a Bellagio event, or?
No, just to
party.
No, not to party, to play poker and to whatever, hang out. But I'm not a partier.
Damon wasn't partying either?
No. He got sick on that trip. He was miserable.
So go back to college. You're playing poker. How long does college last before you're just like, okay, I gotta
I lived in Gainesville for the full 4 years. But I don't know when I don't think I ever officially dropped out. I just kind of stopped doing it.
Yeah. And
for my freshman year, I wasn't getting good grades. And definitely my sophomore year, it was basically over. Yeah.
And what did the
sophomore year was the financial accounting class, actually.
So what happened when your family decided that you were playing poker?
Most of them sort of said that they wanted me to be happy, with, in my opinion, varying degrees of honesty. But the most refreshingly honest thing that I heard was from my grandfather, who actually just passed away a couple of months ago, sadly.
Sorry to hear that.
He said, I remember one of my first big scores online. I go home for Thanksgiving.
How big of a score?
This must have been after my 60K score, which was right after a 17K score. I kind of final tabled it wasn't the Sunday Million at the time, but it was the Stars 215 Sunday tournament.
Yeah.
I final tabled that 2 months in a row in 2005. And I show up for Thanksgiving with a new car. And my grandfather, who has a really bad family history of gambling, his dad would lose the rent money in poker games and stuff like that, and he had some stories that he's told over the years, but he had a really bad family history with gambling addiction and stuff like that. And when he found out that he knew that I played recreationally and whatever, and he finds out that I buy this car, and he says to me, well, at least no matter what, you'll have something to show for it.
There you go.
Which was just the most refreshingly honest, such a great take, as it turns out. Looking back, such a great take.
He just you're going to lose all the rest.
He assumed so, yeah, but at least I'd have the car.
Yeah.
It was a great take.
All right, so you were in Gainesville for 4 years. I'm assuming taking the summer trip to Vegas when you turned 21.
No. My first summer here, quote unquote, was the year that I moved here, 2008.
Okay.
So I wasn't, no. Yeah, I wasn't, I didn't have the, means to really play WSOP events or anything like that. And I just kind of went home for the summer, during summers. Except for one summer, I think I stayed in Gainesville.
This was after you went broke the first time?
Some before, some after.
Okay.
I went broke. I had those scores in 2005, like I said, and I went broke, I think, in 2007.
Okay.
Or 2006, somewhere maybe in that.
What was the cause of going broke? Playing too high?
Playing stuff I couldn't afford and not playing it well enough.
Mm-hmm. What games were you playing at the time? Home games or online? Or
both. Everything went wrong for a while, and yeah.
Well, we always we have a question about what's the worst job you ever had. I mean, what job did you take at that time?
Well, that wasn't my worst job. The job I took at the time was commissioned electronic sales at Sears.
Okay.
Which really wasn't a bad job. I was reasonably good at it. The only thing that it didn't mesh well between me and that job was that they really harped on. They really wanted you to sell their credit cards, and I had always had bad scores on that because I didn't feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a credit salesman. I'm an electronic salesman. But
yeah,
anyway,
it's a little shady to push.
It felt that way. It felt, even though it maybe wasn't, it felt shady.
Here's just a bad decision.
Well, no, it's not necessarily a bad decision, because they did have, like, I would offer it to people, especially when there was, like, 0% financing deals and stuff like that, but I wouldn't, like, push it the way that they wanted you to and stuff like that. Or for that matter, push the extended warranties. I had a really hard time doing that.
Oh, yeah.
That's the other one I forgot. Yeah, I had a really hard time pushing the extended warranties because I just didn't feel comfortable with them, and I knew that they were, that people were losing a lot of EV on them.
Thinking like a poker player.
I was, honestly, and I felt bad about it, and I believed in the products that I was selling, the actual products, but not in those little services.
Did you have trouble punching in on a clock and dealing with a boss?
I had jobs before, so that wasn't a problem. I worked like three different jobs during high school, of which one of them was the worst job I've ever had.
All right, let's go to it. What's the worst job you ever had?
It was the first job I ever had. It was McDonald's.
McDonald's?
Yeah. And long story short, I was kind of moved around the McDonald's to pretty much every job they had to try to find something where I would be of any value whatsoever. I legitimately made it harder for the place to function because I was so bad at it. I was just too slow. And even now, I'm not good at doing things fast under pressure. I'm fine doing things under pressure, but not fast. And my brain would just move. I couldn't find if I was the cashier. There's just all of these millions of menu items and these little text on these little freaking squares on the keypad, and I just could not find the one fast enough. Or I couldn't keep up with the fries when I did that, or I couldn't and one day it was busy and they literally sent me home. It was better to not have me there, So that was the worst job I ever had, and it was not for me. I was very bad at it.
Unqualified for McDonald's.
I was really bad at McDonald's. I then worked as a cashier at a grocery store. I was better at that, and I then did electronic sales at Office Max, and I was still better at that.
So, assuming at that point you're trying to grind together another bankroll, what gets you back in the game?
Back in Sears, you mean? When I was at Sears, yeah.
What got you back into poker?
Exactly what you just said. Grind. I subscribed to memberships to a couple of the training sites, and learned a lot. Learned what I was doing wrong, and learned where I could be a lot better.
Do you remember any particular big leaks back then?
Good question. I don't think I would.
I mean, you're playing Hold'em at this point, right?
Mostly. I had also played other games. Actually, I was playing PLO and PLO 8 quite a bit. But the leaks that I was learning about, I was mostly learning about Hold'em because that's most of what the training content that was available was.
Yeah.
I don't remember offhand what if I had any major I'm sure I did. Obviously, I don't remember offhand what they were.
But there wasn't a eureka moment where something.
No, there wasn't a eureka moment, but I did have enough. I had a couple of scores in tournaments. I think I won the nightly 150, and I. Started doing better in the local cash games and stuff like that, and that was now it's 2008, and now I quit Sears. So it must have been 2008 that I worked at Sears, early part of 2008, and then middle of 2008 I moved to Vegas because I'm stupid. I didn't have anywhere near enough money that someone should have to move here.
Well, how low are we talking?
Definitely less. I don't remember exactly, but let's say definitely less than $25,000 to my name.
Yeah, that's a little tight.
And I instantly played a 2K no limit here in Vegas.
Well, you said you moved in December?
No, June.
June. Okay,
June
so this
1st,
was
2008.
During the World Series.
Yeah, I instantly played a 2K no limit during the World Series.
Man, that's not only to move to Las Vegas, but to move to Las Vegas during the most expensive month potentially of the tournament year.
Oh, I was a moron. I was a fucking idiot, and I never learned. And yeah, here we are.
How did it go those first few shots?
I'll never ever forget the first World Series event I played. Was this 2K no limit? It was I was above average chips, close to 1.5 times the average chips, heading into the dinner break of day one, and the last hand dealt before the dinner break. I flop a set against top pair, and we get it all in, and the guy has about average chips, maybe a little bit more, and he hits a runner flush, which was he can only win with a flush or a runner flush or a runner full house, big full house, and he hit that, and I had to spend the 90-minute dinner break with, you know, my nub, and like not having any friends or anything yet in Vegas, and just like it was the most miserable hand I've ever played, and the most miserable feeling, that sinking feeling of that time where
Food tastes
it was
terrible.
going, yeah, it was going so well before that. I was, you know, like I said, well over the average and playing really well and all of this, and then I get it in amazing. I'm supposed to be at like 2.5 times the average now, and it's just all taken away from me.
Was there a moment after you came out here where you said, this isn't working, I gotta find something else, or I gotta reset?
Well, I went broke again since I was in Vegas, so but and I wasn't sure if I would be able to come back, and I did.
Do you want to talk about that?
I mean, I was broke enough in that, again, from playing too high and all of that. I was broke enough that at one point, my now wife and I moved in with my in-laws here in Vegas, and then I was being staked to play $5 backgammon chouettes for $5 a point backgammon chouettes for like to make grocery money.
Wow.
I was like, and $5 chouettes is a, you know, you can maybe, you know, if the big winner might make, you know, a couple $300, and the big loser might lose about that amount. And like I was being staked to play that by someone, and like that was kind of paying the grocery bills. I was doing that twice a week.
Wow.
But like I sold my car in, I think May of 2011. Got married in June of 2011. And then I had a not a great. I sold this car for like, you know, $8,000 or something like that to have like a little, to just try to get my bankroll back together.
Talk about Bree for a second.
I thought we were talking about my career. I mean, who gives a shit about my wife?
No, I was just saying, like, because you did manage to land a pretty great woman during this time of turmoil. I'm wondering how one markets themselves as a poker pro.
It was funny because so we met on an online site, and the first time that we met and kind of walked around and chatted at the forum shops at Caesars, and she knew I was a poker player. Mm-hmm. And I walked her to her.
You put it in your profile.
Yeah, I walked her to her car when we finished meeting, and it was a BMW 3 Series, and we both thought that each other was richer than we really were, because she drove a BMW and she thought that all poker players were rich.
Yeah,
but she couldn't afford the Beamer.
That's funny. I didn't know she drove a Beamer at one point.
Yeah, this is now in 2009 mm-hmm. that we met, and it's now 2019, and we're still together. We've got, you know, almost 3-year-old twins, mm-hmm. And own a house and all of that. Yeah, and my mother-in-law, who we had moved in with in 2011, now lives with us. Yeah.
It all comes full circle.
It kind of did.
But she saw you.
Actually, it's more 180 than full circle.
There you go. But she saw you, obviously, through the lows and then the highs.
She did, yeah. So major credit to her for mm-hmm. sticking with me through all these years. And, like, I have no idea how she did it.
Did Black Friday come into to hurt you at all in 2011 as well?
Yes. It did, for mm-hmm. sure. But it's, you know. So
it seems like everything was going wrong in 2011, but then, obviously, 2012 comes.
Well, 2011. So the second part of 2011, I probably broke even-ish, or actually I guess I lost a little bit of the 2011 summer, let's say. Mm-hmm. And at the very end of that summer, I played like a $200 or $300 PLO 8 or better event at Caesars at the end, and I came in 4th or 5th in it, and that was for a couple $1,000s, I think. And that was like huge for me then. Mm-hmm. And then right after that, I played a couple of like PLO games that I couldn't afford and did well. And then I went in the later part of 2011. I played some Venetian deep stack events, and like I played like 6 events and cashed in their leaderboard for like the overall player or whatever by only playing like 6 events. Like I had a.
Yeah, I see here you had a second in 08.
Yeah, we chopped the 08 3 ways, and then I won.
PLO.
I won the PLO high right after that, and then I had a 3rd in the other PLO high, and I think a 9th or something in was it PLO 8 or mixed PLO or something like that.
Yeah, I see the Caesars one here as well.
The Limit 08, Chop was the Limit 08. Yeah.
So that kind of got you back on track.
Yeah, and like we moved out of my, I got a new car, a car, and my wife and I for 6 months or so were subsiding on one car, and I got a car and moved into an apartment, and then at the early part of 2012 I got a staking deal.
Now at this time, are you mostly playing cash? I'm assuming had you already switched over to focusing on mixed games, or were you grinding No Limit at the time?
I think I was playing mostly Limit 08.
Okay.
So not like mix, but I think I was playing mostly Limit 08 at the time.
Cash.
Because that was what, cash.
Yeah.
Because that was mostly what existed. And I was playing online tournaments. All this time I was kind of playing No Limit tournaments online. And and then like I said, early 2012, someone from my 08 game introduced me to someone who gave me a staking deal. And then kind of the rest was history after that.
All right, so 2012, very good summer. You win a bracelet, 2,500 deuce to 7 triple draw.
That was my first ever like deep run at a World Series event, and I just never lost.
Won that event, and then you finished 5th in a 3K PLO 8 or better event a little while later that same summer. Let's talk about the bracelet. I had no idea it was like a marathon heads-up battle.
It was at the time the second longest heads-up battle, fixed limit heads-up battle in WSOP history. I think it was 6.5 hours, including the dinner break.
That's brutal. Yeah, it says here the chip lead changed hands 14 times.
That sounds right.
And both of you had the other 9-1 twice.
Yes. I think it was 10-1. Yeah, twice. It was outrageous.
So obviously,
it was the most back and forth.
That has to feel real good to win something like that.
It was insane. And I did think that I played better than him, so I for what it's worth. But and I remember probably the strongest memory of any hand from that tournament was the last time that I was down 10-1. I win a double up to go from I don't know, 1.5 bets to 3 bets or something like that. And then we play a hand where, right after that, we play a hand where my opponent is Pat going into the river, and I'm drawing 1. And I think we're playing big bet of 100K, and I have 150K total going into the river, and I make a pair of 9s and bluff. And he, just tank calls, or folds, sorry. Tank folds. And, that's the most important probably bluff that I've ever pulled off. And I remember
did you show it?
No, I didn't show it. This is the first time that it's ever been publicly admitted that I was bluffing in that hand, because if you look on the live updates for that tournament, there's a hand that has the headline of something like, did Ohel have it?
He did not.
I remember that one very specifically. I did not. I made
the
9s.
Final table, David Baker was there, Freddie Bagnotti, Jason Lavalley.
I final tabled.
Bucky was there. Congrats to Bucky on your first bracelet.
I final tabled 2 triple draw events, and Freddie Bagnotti final tabled both of them with me. And I final tabled 2 events that year, and ODB final tabled both of them with me.
Oh, there you go. ODB, another bracelet winner.
Slava Zhukov won the PLO 8 that I came in 5th in, who I didn't know at the time, but turned out to be
he turned out to be pretty good.
Excellent player.
So I always ask this: what did you do with the bracelet? Where is it?
It's on a shelf in my house, kind of in the front room.
Is it displayed? Or is
I
it
guess
hidden?
the technical... Yeah, I guess yes.
Is it in storage?
It's not displayed, but it's out.
It's something.
There's not fucking lights shining on it. Or in a display case, but
it's not behind
it
glass.
It can be seen.
I've been to some houses. I've doing this podcast where people have very big shrines to themselves.
Yeah, I have my trophies out, and I have
Yeah. Do you care at all about that, or if they could give you the cash value of the bracelet, would you rather take that?
If I wanted that, I would sell my bracelet.
Well, I guess that's true.
And I have my bracelet.
There you go. All right, so let's talk about. Obviously, you won a bracelet, but you've had a lot of close calls also.
Since then, yeah. It's a funny thing where the idea of winning a bracelet before I actually won it didn't feel real to me, because I was never close. I think my best finish before that was 32nd or something like that, and it never felt achievable. And then as soon as I won one the first time, all I wanted was to win another one. And it's funny because when I talk to people, most people have the opposite feeling. Like they feel like the monkey gets off their back when they win the first one. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's obviously different because there was no monkey because I was, such a nobody. But since then, I've really wanted another one. And I obviously have not achieved it.
Yeah, as sad as you're getting now, I want to bring up the pain. Because let's talk about these close calls.
3 seconds.
You have 3 second places at the World Series. It's not quite as bad as Phil Hellmuth or Dan Negreanu.
Well, they have a lot of firsts, so it's kind of okay.
But yeah, these were some close calls. In 2014, you finished second in the 10K Horse.
I think this is true, and I might not be quite right, but I think I have finished in every position at the World Series of Poker from first down to around 20th.
It's pretty close.
At some point or another.
I definitely
at some
see
point
1
or another.
through 8 at least here.
Those for sure, yeah. I know I have, and I have caches in like over 10 different formats, which I'm proud of as well.
Yes. So yeah, second in the 10K Horse, second in the 10K Studied or Better, second in the Limit Triple Draw. You had a third in the PLO High Six Max. Look here, a fourth in the 10K Dealer's Choice.
3 of those in the same year.
You cashed in the 50K, the 50K Poker Players Championship.
Yeah, that actually was a monkey.
To get into the money in that event?
Yeah, to finally cash that event, because I played it a few times.
Is that kind of like your main event as a mixed game player? Do you treat that as like the event to get into, or has it lost its shine?
Definitely hasn't lost its shine.
Okay.
Although I think that like there are a lot of things that WSOP could do to improve that event and make it matter more. But for me, it's a big deal, that event. Like it's all of the best mixed players basically are playing it. They come out of the woodwork. They come from Bobby's room. They come from everywhere. And be a great one to win.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to your seconds. What one was the most painful? Which one jolts you out of bed in the middle of the night?
Pain that they each have different. Each have some pain for different reasons. I don't know if one of them is the most painful in particular. The Studied or Better has a certain degree of pain because a particular hand that I lost, which I was saving for biggest pot you've ever won or lost.
Let's do it. Let's talk about the biggest pot you've ever won or lost. I'm assuming
this one occurred to me for this answer.
Heads up.
Yeah, three ways actually.
Okay,
there are 3 ways, but
let's bring up the tournament so we have the details. This was Mr. George Danzer.
Yeah, he ended up winning.
And Justin Bonomo.
Yep.
Who are these guys?
Yeah, right. So
wow, let's wait. I gotta recap this final.
The 3-handed, by the way, last.
The people who cashed in this tournament's insane.
The 3-handed lasted eternity,
fourth,
by the way.
Todd Brunson was 5th. Ellie Lesra 6th. Scott Clements was 7th. David Gray 8th.
Yep.
Roland Isra 9th. David Benjamin 10th. Mike Leah 11th. Oh my gosh, it just kept going. Wow. Okay, so this was an event.
Yeah, it was a lot of good players plus Mike Leah.
Yeah. Mike's been on this podcast.
I'm friends with Mike.
Make sure you check out that episode.
I would definitely call Mike a friend.
There you go.
So I feel okay saying that.
There you go. He said much worse about you on his episode.
I can't imagine I came up.
All right, so you're 3-handed with Bonomo and Danzer.
Yeah, that
was
3-handed lasted.
Danzer was the player of the year?
I don't know.
Because I think that was the year he won two events, right? I believe it was.
The 3-handed lasted an eternity.
Mm-hmm.
You can maybe find it in the updates, but it was probably at least a 4 or so hour 3-handed. Lasted forever.
Mm-hmm.
But we played one hand probably at least 2/3 of the way into it, where I guess the chip leader at the time, Bonomo and I were close, and Danzer was super short. And this hand comes up where Danzer ends up being all in, I think, on 4th Street. I have a wired pair of, I think, 4s. Bonomo has like a 7-up or something like that. Long story short, Bonomo ends up making like open kings in 5. Danzer's all in, I think, in 4. I make hidden trips on 4th, I think. And I get to raise him on 5th. And then he makes 2 pair open, Bonomo does. Like kings and 7s, I think, on his board. And I still have the 3-4s. I get to raise him again on 6th. This is again on a side pot with Danzer already all in from 4th Street.
You're about to win a tournament.
I'm about to like be a large chip leader heads up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Danzer, who had literal nothing on 5th Street, caught ace on 6th and 7th.
Oh.
and I never filled up. And Danzer won that pot and ended up obviously winning the tournament. But that was the most brutal hand I've ever lost.
Equity-wise.
Yeah, I mean, there's no math on it. No, I don't even. I have no idea what the math was, and I'm sure nothing. Like, it might not even be the biggest one I've lost, but it was the most. That's the most painful hand probably that I've ever lost.
It's the one that stings the most.
Yeah, but having said that, Danzer deserved to win that tournament. He played fantastic. Mm-hmm. He's someone who, the more I played with him during that tournament, the more respect I got for his play.
Why? Because he was just doing unconventional things?
Yeah, exactly. And then it would keep working out, and I would keep watching it and being like, man, this guy is, playing great in these hands and stuff like that.
Are you a sponge at the table when it comes to that kind of stuff? Are you
not as much as I should be. Not as much as I maybe should be.
I mean, they were interviewing Brent Kenny after the train, and they were asking him about solvers, and he basically said, I know solvers because I watch everyone else play, and I copy them, and, I just counteract it. And I was like, okay, I'm not sure if I'm buying that, but...
I mean, I've learned probably a decent amount about modern No Limit just from talking to people and watching play on some stuff on PokerGo and stuff like that. So there is a lot that can be watched and learned without actually, obviously you can't learn the solutions,
Yeah.
Because you don't know, just because you know that he did this, you don't know how often he would have done it or whatever. Because I know that the solvers have all these these crazy, what's it called? Spots where you're supposed to do something 1% of the time and something else a different percentage of the time.
Yeah, and it may go against all your intuition.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I don't know.
But when did mixed
that's
games,
not my thing.
When did mixed games come into play for you? When did that become your main focus? Because I imagine you were probably into it before everyone else was.
Yeah, I remember I was immediately, even right after I learned No Limit in high school, I was drawn to the idea of other poker games very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. I remember when I learned the rules for Omaha 8 or better, I was taught the rules by Michael Winnett, who we mentioned before, Squeaky, and I was taught the rules of this game, and 2 in your hand, 3 on the board, blah 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 blah, and I said, oh, so trips in your hand must be really bad, and he goes, yeah, but if you hit the card, you're golden. I'll never forget that. Those were his words. If you hit that card, you're golden. I'm like, oh, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds like
right.
It makes some sense. So how does one get good at mixed games? Because there's no training sites for.
I mean, there are.
Well, there are now. I'm saying back in the day, there was Super System.
There's books, definitely. There still are. There are books now. Some of the sites have videos, training videos and stuff like that. You can get coaching from me or from someone else. Mm-hmm.
Well, this is a good time to bring up. You are technically.
You don't have to bring it up now, but yeah.
Well, you were technically a card player employee at this point.
That's true.
Getting
actually, probably an independent contractor.
An independent contractor, yeah. But you could put it on your resume if you want. But yeah, you're doing a column basically every once in a while for us, doing
right around once a month.
Some fundamentals of mixed games. So if you're listening out there and you want to feel real bad about your stud 8 or better or your triple draw, or
I've had a lot of really good feedback for this last stud 8 or better one.
No Limit
so I'm really
Deuce
happy
game.
About that.
Oh man, you were talking about convertibles in one stretch,
and I was No Limit Deuce.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, I really don't know anything about this game.
Most people don't. That's one of the least known games is No Limit Deuce.
Yeah, and you don't realize it goes so deep. And the way you were able to rattle off, these different concepts. Anyway, check it out.
But I also do private coaching for the last 6 months.
I remember you were telling me back in the day that you would trade help with No Limit players.
I didn't end up ever doing that.
Oh, okay.
That was something that someone and I discussed. We never ended up doing it, but I do private coaching for mixed players or for anyone who wants to learn.
There are some players right now who are, maybe they're at Bellagio, which is where you normally play, correct?
Uh-huh.
And maybe they grind 5-10 or 2-5, and they show up and their game is just nothing but sharks. Should they be learning mixed games so that they could go jump over with you guys?
I think that there's 2 ways that you can look at this. Mm-hmm. One way that you can look at this is they should be getting better at No Limit so that they can play no matter who else is playing. Mm-hmm. I think that's a really reasonable approach. Because you're not limited by game selection. And then option 2 is obviously to learn to branch out into other games. The problem is that it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be especially easy to be quickly good enough to play games for any reasonable amount of money. You have to be prepared to grind small stakes and to learn it's going to be a process for anyone who's just played No Limit.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be worth it in the end. Like, I think that there's a lot more value in mixed games nowadays. Like, people are just so good at No Limit. Like, I wouldn't even dream of trying to get good at No Limit now, just because everyone's so far ahead.
Yeah.
But mixed games, it depends also on the type of. It also depends on It also depends on the type of No Limit player that they are. Like, I don't think that the solver-based player will do. I think the solver-based player might have a harder transition into other games than like someone who's a little bit more intuitive. I think like one of the most important things for learning more games is card sense, and like just understanding concepts of the games and stuff like that. Like, the beautiful thing about learning games is that the more games that you know, the easier it is to learn the next one, because you can apply concepts from previous games to learn how to play. To so if just this can be you can make analogies to other games that you already know how to play. But I would say that the first thing to do is to read books, because I think books are the best foundational material for like the most basic things, and then have some practice, and then watch some training videos, and then play some more, and then say, okay, I'm at this point, now I'm going to maybe look for private coaching, or now I'm going to, or whatever it is. But I think that those places to start are the best.
I was going to ask, do you ever play Hold'em when the game's not looking good in mixed?
I just play.
You just play?
Yeah.
Even if the game is like, you just prefer playing mixed?
Yeah, I mean, I there's not a large enough community in mixed that, like, you can afford to be all that selective. You just have to, like, and it's not, I don't think it's good to be known as someone who won't play unless the game is good.
Okay.
So even if I maybe am giving up a little bit now, like, it's good to have that image and have that reputation. If you give action, you get action. Yeah.
Well, right now there's this issue in the cash game community, especially here in Las Vegas, of private games. And I wonder how prevalent of an issue is that for you at the stakes you play and the games you play, or is that more of an issue at only the highest stakes? And
it's a really big issue, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
Does it affect you? Can you answer?
It's a really big issue.
Okay.
It's really, yes.
What about the breakdown of what your poker schedule looks like? I imagine, being a cash game grinder, you're working a lot of weird hours, maybe trying to capitalize.
Not that weird.
You're not like grinding Saturday midnight because that's where the softest games are.
No, it's not like it's not like No Limit where you're looking to catch the drunk people. It's you basically start a game when everyone's ready to start, and then you kind of quit when the game starts to break. Like, over the course of a game, like, the game is 7-handed, and we might have
lots of elbow room.
Maybe might have 9 people over the course of the night at the most.
Okay.
So, most nights.
So you'll get a call, hey, the game's starting, or...
Yeah, well, there's a text chain and stuff.
Yeah. Is it hard to recruit new players?
I don't know.
How does a new player start up? Are they basically wandering around the poker room going, oh, what is this? Let me see if I can...
Occasionally that happens. Yeah. More often than not, it's someone that we know. Like people that, maybe No Limit players or different things like that. I don't do much recruiting. That's not really my strong suit.
And what about the politics of how the games are selected?
So for the most part, at least here in Vegas, at the game particular limits that I play, for the most part, we have a set of games that are mostly agreed upon every day. Like maybe with the tiniest exceptions. Like, there might be 12 games, and we might play 12 out of 13.
12?
Yeah,
wow.
We might play something like 12 out of a set of 13 or 14. Or we might play all of them, or we might play, you know what I mean? Like, it's something like that, where nothing's coming out of the blue, no one's really fighting, because everyone knows that you just have to have a certain degree of...
And there's no, like, Mark showing up going, I don't know the rules of this game, so you guys just take it out of play or whatever.
That happens occasionally. Or we teach it to them or whatever, but that's super rare. On a night where I don't know somebody at the table is rare.
And what if you want to sit out for a while? How does that work?
And you go to the bathroom? What do you mean?
Right, but like, isn't there an issue with people like sitting out at some games? They might not be so.
We don't have that. We don't have that issue at higher stakes. so much because everyone knows each other way too well, and we police ourselves.
And do you feel that that's fine? Like, there's never.
Oh yeah, there's no. I mean, yeah, we've like. People will be shunned, will be shamed. People know that you have to play the mix, and like, we rarely have problems with it. And like I said, we police ourselves, and that's for the most part just true in general. Like, we don't, you never see us in my game like call the floor for a ruling, ever.
Yeah, it's just
we deal with it,
a gentleman's agreement or whatever.
Like, we just know enough about how the rules are supposed to work and how like situations are working. We know that certain people at the table can be trusted to be neutral and different things like that, and we just deal with it ourselves and don't want to rely upon like a floor or whatever.
Yeah. Do you have a particular strong game that you're proud of?
I don't think so. I consider myself a jack of all trades, master of none. I think that's why I do well at the dealer's choice format at the World Series, because I think I'm good at picking the games to my opponent's weaknesses, and there's not too much that people are going to pick where I'm like super out of my element.
Yeah.
But there's nothing where like I'm not one of these guys who's like picking the same thing every round because like I'm an expert at that game.
Oh yeah, we had Adam Friedman on here who won the event back to back.
He picks a lot of different games too.
Yeah, and I was asking him, did you have a strategy, like, were you just targeting one specific weak spot at the table? Or is it more just picking your own best game for defense? Is it dependent on how your stack is at the time?
Definitely depends on stack, depends on players. Like, if there's a guy or girl, female, I shouldn't say girl, who is demonstrably horrible at a game, you pick that game.
And everyone picks that game until they're out of the
That sort of
table,
ends up happening, yeah. Or at least people who are noticing and paying attention, people who feel comfortable in that game. Like, that happens sometimes with stud, high-low, regular. Where like suddenly 4 people are picking stud, high-low, regular because one guy is fucking it up really badly.
He doesn't realize there's a qualifier or something.
There is no qualifier.
Oh, high-low, regular. That's right.
Yeah.
High-low, regular. Exactly. I'm the victim in this example. All right. So let's get to some rapid fire questions if you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right. All right. Biggest pot you've ever witnessed?
I've ever witnessed.
Because I know you've.
I don't play that big. The biggest I've ever played is 400, 800.
That's pretty damn
I know,
big.
but like it's not. But I don't have a particular hand that I've witnessed.
Tell me about that session.
I've played it a few times, but there's nothing. Honestly, it was just a poker game. There's not that much to show.
You didn't feel a little bit of a little sweat on your brow, a little bit of.
No, because for me, I sold excess action to where I was still playing my usual limit. So like, it didn't make a difference to me whether it was my usual limit or 400, 800.
What about the competition being different?
It was mostly my usual players.
Okay, everyone stepped it up.
Kind of, yeah. It was. So that's happened a few times, but no, there was nothing special about it.
What about the first time you were in Bobby's room? Or
that was cool.
The first time you faced off against Doyle or something.
Doyle was like, throughout my poker career, it was like I've played with everybody or whatever, and or at least that plays mix, and but Doyle eluded me for years and years to ever play, and like he's I read Super System so many times in high school, and like to play with Doyle was a big deal one day finally. So that's a good question, but that was exciting. Did
you get the better of him, or
I don't remember.
No,
I definitely beat him a pot. I think I just beat him a couple pots, but I don't think
no pot to hang your hat on.
The man is a million years old, and he still got it.
Best swap or piece you've ever had of anybody?
Best swap or piece. I haven't done too well swapping Lifetime, except for, I guess, I think it was 2% of when Justin Bonomo came in second in the PPC.
That's pretty good.
2%, yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good company to get a swap with in a no limit hold'em tournament.
It wasn't a no limit hold'em tournament; it was the PPC.
Oh, the PPC. I thought you were talking about the. I was thinking of.
Doesn't matter what you thought.
PCA.
Oh yeah, no, that would have been a big one.
That would have been a big one.
2% of that, yeah.
Maybe I would have heard about that.
I've only played that
before.
once.
Weirdest place you've ever played poker for money?
A trailer, 20 minutes or 30 minutes outside of Gainesville.
A trailer,
yeah.
Oh, you mean like a trailer home,
like a mobile home? Yeah. Like
I was thinking like a trailer in the back of a
trailer,
truck.
a mobile home, like 30 minutes outside of Gainesville in like the woods.
How sketchy was this game?
I escaped. I don't know. I only played like twice.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of southwest of Gainesville.
Man, did you ever do the trip to Jasper for the card room?
I never went there. I did go to. It wasn't like. No, I never went. By the time that formed, was sort of at the end of my like time there, and it was sort of like I was playing other things, mostly. I did go to the cruise ship out of Jacksonville a couple times, and I went to Tampa once during my time in Gainesville. And we went to Biloxi once.
Back before poker was up and running in Florida.
Yeah, there were some interesting. Those cruises to nowhere were interesting.
Who's the best poker player we've never heard of?
So this question I actually prepared for.
Okay.
I texted someone specifically and said, "Is it okay with you if I list you as this person?"
This is a real unknown, secret person.
I mean, not secret to the people who play mix.
Okay.
But I was prepared for this one, and his name is Daryush Imani.
Okay.
He's a mixed game player. He's not a professional poker player. His professional business is commercial real estate development.
Okay.
And but he's also plays poker for money, and he has played poker for a living earlier in his life.
And he's a crusher, huh?
Yeah, he's great. So he was. Yeah, there were two people I was thinking of. He's the number one I went with.
Sorry, other guy.
He's a really good player, and I think at the limit that I play, to me he's the toughest player. Maybe not everyone sees it that way, but to me he's the toughest player. Although he does have a tendency, he can go off. Like if he gets in a certain mood, he can light it on fire.
How's your tilt control?
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a technique or anything, or?
Do
you get up?
I think I have a reasonably good level of self-awareness of if I'm playing well or not, and if I'm not, I kind of occasionally I'll get up and I'll be like, if you don't start playing well, we have to go home or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think I also don't have that much of a superstar A+ game. I just have a mostly pretty even keel game.
You just never get down to your D game.
I sort of am always a C player, mostly. You know what I mean? I'll hover between B- and
Is
C-.
Is that enough to win?
Is
a C- player enough to win?
I guess so.
Yeah, that's all you need.
No, C- isn't.
Who is the best human being you've ever met in the poker world? So throw
That's
away
a good
the
question.
poker
No,
skill.
I like that question. That's a good one. There's a few of them, but I'm going to say Mark Gregorich.
Okay. I played a nice round of golf with Mark a few months back.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
He's just the nicest guy in the world. He's, in many ways, he knows that I look up to him in many ways. He's successfully raised a family. Mm-hmm. He has 2 kids in college now. And just the consummate grinder, and also just he's, often been called the nicest person in poker. Yeah. And he hosts my favorite party every year. And just the nicest guy. I can't imagine him doing anybody wrong about anything.
Well, you brought up the fact that he's a father. You're a father.
I am.
We did this anonymous polling of the high-stakes tournament players. Mm-hmm. And, maybe not surprising, a lot of them don't have kids. About 50-50 were in relationships. Do you think that holds true for the mixed game community? What are the ages skew? And
ages, I think, skew a little bit older for the most part. Mm-hmm. And I think that we do have a higher percentage of family people. Mm-hmm. I think.
You just got it right.
I think, but if you're comparing, I think that if you're comparing almost any population of players to the highest stakes players, you'll see that they probably have fewer families than anybody else does. So I don't think comparing us to the 10-20 no limit grinders might be more interesting. Yeah. And I wouldn't know what the stats are there, but I think comparing to the highest stakes.
But the idea is that you can do it. You can have the family. You don't have to live on the road to be a professional poker player.
No, for sure not. I just live in Vegas, and I go to LA usually for a couple weeks a year. Yeah. And then I'm here for the rest of the year.
No other poker trips, really?
No.
Not even back home to Florida?
I've played tournaments there, but it'll be part of another trip to Florida with my family. Mm-hmm. Or I haven't in a few years, but I did go to Mexico to play W Coops a couple of different times for 3 weeks. But that's before my kids were born.
What's the longest session you've ever played?
24 hours. Pretty much on the nose, yeah.
Were you determined to get
I was
there?
at 18 hours and just I gotta make it to 24. Yeah. And then Brianna, my wife, actually came to the casino and picked me up and drove me home. I'm not that type of person who can play long hours, and usually I get tired after 12 or so.
Was this recent or
no? Let's call it It's called 2011 or so, 12.
Do you remember if you won?
I lost.
Okay,
Not
so
big.
it was
No, it wasn't like something like that.
It wasn't you were trying to get even. You were just...
No, there was a special person there that plays really long hours that I played with for a long time, and then eventually it got to the point where it was like 18 hours, and I'm like, I've never had a 24-hour session. I should just like make this happen.
Yeah. And what's the closest you've come since?
Not even, probably not even 16 hours.
Well, I mean, that's still a day. That's still a day,
Not by the standards of like poker players, like everyone.
I guess. Yeah.
I'd probably have the shortest answer to that question in the history of your podcast.
Have you seen like crazy people there for 3 days? Or?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
I just have never been able to do that.
You're never like, hey buddy, time to run a stick of deodorant over there.
We used to call Steve Billarakis 3-Day Steve.
3-Day Steve. I didn't know Steve was known for his long sessions.
He used to be, yeah.
Wow.
Not recently.
Okay. If not for poker, what would you be doing?
I've wondered that myself, and I just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I had an answer for you.
We talked about your existential crisis.
Yeah,
in college.
exactly. I don't know what I would be doing if not for poker. I just don't know.
Yeah. Does it scare you?
The idea of, yes, I guess is the answer to your question. Well, I don't know. The answer to a question, I don't know if it's the question that you're asking me, it does scare me. The future of poker scares me.
So, yeah, let's talk about that. Do you think you could do this until your retirement years? And
I think that I could. I don't think that it will be really available to be done in 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. I think that we're in, I think that poker had its boom, and slowly if you look at just the sheer numbers of people in their early 20s that are playing, it's not like what it was when I was in my 20s, or what it was even 5 years ago. And then we have still a lot of people who are on the older side who are eventually unfortunately not going to be around anymore, and the younger people who do come up tend to be really good. They're approaching things from they're people who were MTG players, or they're people who were really analytical and things like that.
Yeah.
So
these aren't guys who have a good session and go dust it off in the pits, or vice versa.
Which doesn't help either.
Vice versa.
That's really bad. That's really bad too.
Bring it in.
We've had a lot of money lost in the poker world due to people with really bad habits.
Mm-hmm.
Sad to say.
A lot of leaks. A lot of leaks.
But I don't think that I kind of I need to make my nest egg in the next 20 years. That's how I see it.
Because poker will be less of an option.
Yeah.
Because your mental faculties will have declined.
No, because the games just won't be around. They'll be a lot worse.
It's funny because if you talk to a tournament player, they have the opposite outlook. Because tournaments are booming, obviously. The no limit hold'em fields in Europe are gigantic, and you have these record-setting.
But they're tough.
They're tougher than ever. Exactly. It's just because they're bigger doesn't necessarily mean they're profitable for everyone as much.
Well, obviously not for everyone.
Or, the fish will lose faster.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of and there's fewer of them, by the way. Mm-hmm. I think people have less of a there are obviously still your certain special people who will lose forever and don't care, but they're becoming fewer and farther between.
Yeah. What was your largest non-poker wager?
I'm in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a combination of 2 wagers for weight loss.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you want to disclose the details?
It's $5,000. I weighed the most I've ever weighed was 282 or 283 in early February of this year, and the middle of Feb, and I was looking for weight loss bets, but I started losing weight on my own. Middle of February I was 276, and I bet 2 different people a total of $5,000 that I could get to 210 on 1-1, and I'm now what am I now? What did I weigh in it today? 230.5 today. So
right.
I'm on the way. I'm
on the way.
I'm gonna win. Yeah.
You're gonna get it.
Yep.
Congrats on that.
Thank you. I'm really proud of that. I've lost over 50 pounds, and
I'm sorry about what your current diet looks like. I'm sure it's not fun.
Well, I'll tell you what. 230 feels a lot skinnier on the way down than it did on the way up. I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
You've lost how much from your?
I was a peak of 248, and now
What are
I'm
you
at
these days?
206.
That's amazing too.
But I can't break 200. It would take me actually dieting, and I don't want to do that.
Well, yeah, you had reasons that you lost. Unfortunate reasons.
Yeah, I
that
just
you
can't
lost
have
weight.
milk or cheese or anything
But it took you a while to figure that out.
Yes, a lot of painful nights.
But I have dieted a lot, and I'm exercising for the first time in my life.
Has it affected your poker? Do you buy into the whole like exercise helps you?
I don't think so. Mm-hmm. But maybe.
Sorry, Jason Kuhn.
maybe at that level, maybe for different people it does. I wish everyone says, "Oh, you feel so much better," and I just don't know for me if that's true or not. It might be, and I might not realize it, and it might not be.
Yeah.
I think that there's definitely a lot of psychosomatic stuff happening for a lot of people there.
Yeah.
But I need to get to 210 at the end of the year, and then ideally I'd like to maybe lose another 20 after that. So I will get to 210 by the end of the year, though. I'm going to do that. And then I've got a couple of politics bets for the upcoming election also that are both like 5K.
All right, well, don't depress me. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
What is a talent you don't have that you wished you did?
It's a lot of those.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had any talents.
I
wish I was good at almost anything. Like it feels like I have one skill. You know what I mean? But
there's no other skills you've been really jealous of?
It would be. I do have an actual answer to this question. Okay. I wish I could sing.
Really?
Yeah.
Sing?
Yeah, I enjoy it, and I'm not very good at it. Like, I can match, like, if you play a note on a keyboard that's within, or a piano that's within my range, I can match it. And like, I have a good, like, if I just sing a song, I have a good like sense of like, I can,
key changes.
Yeah, exactly. And I can just kind of keep a tone and stuff like that. But my actual tone, the way I sound, isn't very good. My actual voice doesn't sound very good, but I know that I'm actually following the notes properly and stuff like that. I just don't have a good voice.
You just wish you had different genetics.
I wish I had a good. Yeah, I just wish it would be really cool to just be able to like have a good singing voice and just like go to
You don't need to be a good singer to be a recording artist. You could be Randy Newman. You know what I mean? Like,
well, you have to be exceptionally different.
Bob Dylan.
You have to be you have to be, what is it? You have to be a Pulitzer Prize winning. Was it Pulitzer that he just won?
I don't know what he won.
Writer.
Speaking of music, headphones on at the table? Yes
very,
or no?
very rarely.
And if so, what are you listening to?
Usually stuff on the mellow side. Something maybe Pink Floyd or Jeff Beck, or like stuff really on the mellow side. Genesis.
Wow.
Maybe. Which some of that's not really like my quote unquote favorite music, but that's what I would listen to mostly at the poker.
Do you
table.
react to like speed metal? You put that on, you're just gonna go crazy.
I never would put it on. But I almost never listen to music at the poker table.
You just want to interact at the table, or you miss something, or? Yeah,
I just don't. I don't know. I don't like, if I want to be by myself to play poker. We could do that online back in the day, or like I don't know. I like the social aspect of poker. I think that like we hear all these stories about shitty people doing shitty things in the poker world, and like they get so like it sucks when people do bad things, and like, but there are not a lot of bad apples in poker, and like I think on the whole poker tends to bring out the worst in people and the best in people, and because it's just so stressful and so intense, and it's so honor based in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And
I think that in general we are lucky to be part of this community, and we have like on the whole way better people in this community than in society as a whole. Like, I think it's not even close.
I would agree with that.
And I like that, and I like bullshitting
poker
people
players
and whatever.
Good.
Yeah, we do. But the ones that are bad are really bad.
Yeah. Favorite album?
Let's say there's a few of them, but let's say 2112 by Rush.
Wow.
Maybe.
It's funny you just brought up Rush. Nolan Dalla had a post about, I think he was asking people about bands that you just don't get. Like,
and he said Rush, or you said
I
Rush?
said Rush.
Oh yeah, they're my favorite band for sure.
I just watched a documentary, and I was like, oh man, these guys
Which
are
one?
clearly the one on Netflix. I can't
remember what it's called. I've seen all of them probably.
It's good. It's well done. I recommend it.
I'm sure I've seen it.
I watched it and I was like, wow, these guys are clearly geniuses. Geddy
Lee
is obviously a bass god, and the
Yeah.
fact that he can sing at the same time. And, obviously Pert on drums, is insane. And I was really into it, and then I started listening to the music, and I was like, not for me. It's just not for me.
What did you listen to?
I just basically Spotify their top 10. You know what I mean? Whatever their top
Okay.
10 songs are. I mean, skipping Tom Sawyer, obviously.
Because you knew that one, yeah.
Exactly. But it just comes off to me as like the kind of rock you play while playing Dungeons and Dragons, and like.
Well, to a certain extent, it is. I mean, it's definitely considered on the nerdier side, and I'm on the nerdier side of humans. So.
Yeah, you did say you were an indoor kid, so there you go.
And I like D&D for what little experience I have with it. But like, no, Rush is definitely my favorite band. I don't listen to a ton of music though. Like a lot of the time that I used to listen to music, I now spend listening to podcasts.
Yeah, especially Poker Stories. That's a good one.
Yeah, occasionally I listen to Poker Stories.
What's your favorite movie?
Pulp Fiction, probably.
Are all your favorite movies Tarantino?
No, but I am definitely a fan of his. I loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I have not seen it yet.
Fucking glorious.
I know you were just telling me about some peanut butter something.
That was great. Yeah, you actually really should watch that. And
yeah.
I actually told people on Twitter now. I tweeted that people should watch that movie.
It's
that
an
was
official Randy Ohel.
The Peanut Butter Falcon.
The Peanut Butter Falcon. That's what
it's like it's absurdly good, and like the cast is not inspiring. It's like the two people you would have heard of are Shia LaBeouf and what's her name, Dakota Johnson.
Wow.
Yeah, but you hear those names and you're like,
selling me hard.
This is a movie I should see. But it turns out that not only are they both really good in the movie, but the movie just has so much heart and it's so good.
I actually like Shia LaBeouf as an actor.
He's good. He's really good in this.
He's a crazy person.
He's really good in this movie. It's like it's like a real Huck Finn story.
Okay.
It's like an adventure, Southern adventure. Like it's great.
So this isn't the one he was making about his own life?
No.
Where he plays his dad?
No.
You haven't heard about this?
It's not that, though.
There's a movie where they're making it's about Shia LaBeouf's life, and he plays his own father.
No, I don't know anything
about that. They cast a kid to play him, and I guess it'd be a child actor while playing a child actor. That's pretty meta. Anyway,
no, Peanut Butter Falcon. One of the maybe second best movie of this year.
All right,
maybe the best might actually be. Did you see what was it called? The Farewell.
I haven't seen anything. I saw the last Spider-Man.
Did you hear about The Farewell?
No.
That's like an excellent movie.
I'm only thinking of The Favorite right now.
The Favorite was last year, I think. Yeah. And I actually just saw that a month or two ago.
That's how behind I am.
It's really good. Usually you're like into the movies.
I know, but ever since I had kids, like I can't watch.
You still come out with the list of like every year. You come out with the list.
Not in years. It's been.
I'm gonna look on Facebook. I think you made the list last year.
Go ahead. You're not gonna find one. Is there any?
You definitely made one. Actually, I know you made one the year that Boyhood came out. Because there was a huge argument on your thread about that.
And that's 2012.
And that's Definitely post Joanna.
2012.
That's not post Joanna?
I don't know. It's been a while. Anyway, was there a question I didn't ask you that I should have asked you?
You haven't asked me one from the random question generator yet.
That's coming next. I just didn't want to get to the random question generator before I hit all your prepared questions.
Yeah. Those were the ones that,
I got them all?
Yeah, the two that I was ready for.
All right. We end the podcast the same way every time with a question from the random question generator.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting. The one that came up for yours, I'm not even going to ask you because it's just like...
I want to know what it was, and then we can move on to the next one.
Okay. What piece of clothing or accessory can someone wear that immediately makes you have a bad opinion of them as a person?
A MAGA hat. Move on.
There you go.
Obvious answer.
Okay. What's currently legal but won't be in 10 or 20 years?
Ooh.
This is like a quiz.
I'm a libertarian, so I sort of think of things the other way.
Like what should be legal?
Yeah. I don't usually think of things that they're going to outlaw.
What's currently illegal that you'd like to see legalized in the next 10, 20 years?
I mean, I think that the obvious answers are poker and marijuana, which I don't really use.
Yeah. You don't use poker? No, you mean poker state by state, obviously, in the United States.
Ideally, I mean just
worldwide.
Totally illegal, federally and everything. But that pot, like I'm trying to think of something that's legal now that I think will be illegal in 20 years. Like the obvious answer for something that one is like tobacco, but that's never going to happen because
with the lobbyists and
way too much money in the tobacco industry, and and that's never going to happen.
I was thinking a sport.
Nor
like
do
boxing.
I think it should be illegal.
What about a sport like boxing might be gone in
too much money in it?
Not 20 years, maybe 50 years.
Yeah, I think that football might be gone in 50 years.
Yeah.
Like I really believe that.
The public will lose interest, competition will win.
I think that in the next 50 years it might be illegal to drive.
Ooh, that's a good one.
But that's not 20 years either. I think that's That's a long way away, but I think it'll be illegal to drive on public roads, and there will be like private areas where one can go to, like, you
have to go to like a driving park,
a driving range, as it were.
A driving range. A driving range where you can just do laps in a car.
Yeah,
this is what we used to do back in the old days.
They have it would be like Speed Vegas now. They have,
yeah,
but it would be,
it would just be like a Toyota Tercel.
Probably not a Toyota Tercel, but it would probably be still sports cars. But
yeah, play with the wipers. Yeah, like,
have you ever gone to Speed Vegas and done that whole thing?
No, I'm not a car guy.
Me neither, but it was fun.
Yeah, this is the one just south of the strip.
Yeah,
with all the fast NASCARs.
Just south of like the next exit past St. Rose.
Yeah. Anyway, Randy, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and
happy to be here,
sharing your poker stories, and being in my house for like the 50th time. Was it fun?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks for having me, Julio.
That's it. That's the show. Thank you once again to Randy for coming on the podcast, and for leaving my house without breaking any of my doors. As we mentioned during the podcast, Randy is now offering up his mixed game wisdom on a semi-regular basis for Card Player, and the first 3 of his articles are already up on the website. You can search his name and find in-depth hand breakdowns on a number of poker variations. So far he's tackled stud 8 or better, triple draw, and deuce to 7 no limit single draw, with more on the way. You can find Randy on Twitter at Randy Ohel and reach out to him there about getting some mixed games poker coaching. That's right, Randy is taking on poker students. So if you feel stuck in a hold'em rut and you want to branch out a bit, perhaps that's the best way to go. You can find us on Twitter at CardPlayerMedia and also at poker_stories. Do me a favor and subscribe if you haven't already, and go the extra mile by leaving a rating and a review. If you let us know about it with an email to pokerstories@cardplayer.com, we'll hook you up with a free digital subscription to Card Player magazine. Thanks for listening.